This next ad break is brought to you by Slambox, Australia's best value basketball repacks. Visit www.slambox.com.au to check out the latest series or join the Slambox Facebook page and message them directly. Slambox features big-name autos including Giannis, Zion, LaMelo, Banchero, Chet, Ja, Tatum, and more. Super short prints, case hits from a variety of different products including National Treasures, Flawless, Noir, Immaculate, Impeccable, and more. Slambox has different tiered product levels to cater for all budget levels and collector preferences. Thank you, Slambox, for your support. Welcome, everybody, to episode 125 of the You Can't Comp This NBA podcast. Again, Adam is taking a little bit of annual leave, but he will be back in the next episode. And to fill in his place is Jonno Michaels from Mailman Breaks. Now, Jonno was invited onto the show as part of a conversation piece, which I thought was going to take about 10 or 15 minutes around repacks, but we segued, we diverged, and we ended up talking for nearly an hour and a half. So Jonno got his own dedicated episode. I really hope you enjoy this conversation because we did cover a lot of different topics and we did talk about small details in the hobby and we looked at things from a really zoomed out lens to thinking about the hobby as a whole. So hope you enjoy it. And as always, guys, hit us up on socials. Mr. Jonno Michaels. Jonno, hello. How are you today?
I'm great, Russell. Yourself?
Good. Thanks for joining us. I really do appreciate it. Adam says hello. He's just having a bit of a week off in the pasture today, so
lucky him.
He'll be back soon, don't worry. So why don't you just give us a really quick introduction of yourself, and then we'll kick off about repacks, because that was the reason why I wanted to get you on here and pick your brain about your philosophy of repacks.
Yeah, sounds like a bit of fun. Okay, so my name's Jonno. Long-time collector. Started collecting in my early years, as a lot of us in the hobby now have.
Yeah.
Took a hiatus through my teens and early 20s, and then found myself back in the hobby probably late 2018.
Yeah.
Collector of memorabilia and cards. Breaker, owner page Mailman Breaks, and also run Sports Cards Fanatics Australia.
Yeah.
Buy, swap, sell page, and just love the game of basketball, and I guess that brings my love of collecting cards and memorabilia.
Just full circle, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Enamored with basketball, obsessed with basketball.
Do you have League Pass? That's the real question.
I do have League Pass. My loophole has just been found. For the last 7 years, I've been buying League Pass through Mexico.
Through a VPN?
$29.99. And my brother-in-law emailed me about 4 weeks ago and he goes, did you just get an email from NBA League Pass? Because they had seen that obviously been viewing it through my normal Australia computer. And
so now they bill you on the hours that you watch it in that country.
Correct. So now I said, because it's on automatic subscription, and it's now saying that if I want to renew, it will be at the Australian rates.
Yeah.
But yes, I do have League Pass, and it gets used quite frequently.
Look, can I be honest with you? I think that's the NBA's fault that they have different prices for different countries.
It should be mainstream. You'd think it would be equal across the board, but each their own.
If there is a loophole there, I don't think the NBA can complain too much about that. But can't you still use a VPN to watch it, or is it too laggy to do that?
Oh, I'm sure you can. I was just on a fantasy page 10 years ago, or whatever it was, 8 years ago, and a guy's like, "Oh, I found a little loophole," and he signed us all up. Yeah, and we had it on recurring billing, so we never had to worry about it. Yeah. Literally 4 weeks ago, my brother-in-law messaged me. He's like, "Have you got this email?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I have a geese," and I'm sure I could watch it on VPN, but
I got to be honest with you, I'm just too lazy to do stuff like that, and I've always just paid for it normally. But actually, a few years ago, it was $300 a year, and then they dropped the price to $150. So
It's not too bad. When you see what you get for it, I'm happy to pay the 150.
The 150 I think is totally fine, but I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I always felt a little bit. I would always pay for it, but I was always a bit reluctant to go back for that $300 mark. But 150, I don't even think about that. It's beautiful. Yeah.
It's a good service.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks. So without going back into over this too much, because I just went through this with Maddie, I'm definitely interested in repacks because a year ago I wouldn't have touched them with a 30-foot pole, whereas now my thinking is coming around a little bit, and most of that is because I think there's a large enough sample size to say, look, this is a good repack. This is a repack to stay away from. I think there's a lot more cards available now for smaller dollars, so then I think repacks can be built to be, looking a bit more, I suppose, appealing is maybe the better word. So I wanted to get your opinion because Matt was definitely in the lower end spectrum. I would probably consider you mid to higher end in terms of repacks. So I want to, hear your thoughts of how you build them, why you build them in the way you do, and and let's sort of just go from there.
Yeah. So the way I build a repack is I try and buy cards for repack that I know that I'd want to hit. I try and find and buy cards that people may not find attainable in a normal break they want to go in.
Yep.
Not everyone can afford to go in a flawless break. Not everyone can afford to go in an NT break. So I try and find cards that, are great hits in those products, but let's put it at a more attainable price in my repack.
I've never done the numbers on the return on NT and flawless, but there's probably a pretty strong argument just to buy singles, isn't there?
It's so hard. Like if you're going to open a box yourself, the return probably isn't amazing unless you hit, one of the top 5-10% of chase cards. If you want to enter a break and spend $300 or something on an NT break, you can get lucky. You can hit one of the good rookie teams or one of the superstar, Golden State, Mavs, Laker teams and hit a nice Lucas, Steph, LeBron card.
Yeah.
But it's people want to collect singles or people want to have the thrill of still sitting there watching a box getting broken or opening the box yourself.
Yeah.
I still have that thrill opening a pack myself and trying to hit a card. And I know more than likely it's better off that I can just go and buy that single online. But depends what your kryptonite is and what gets your heart rate going.
Yeah. That's Sorry, I've segued you, man.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I focus on I'll normally have a list of 2 to 3 players for every team that I want to target for a repack. Not saying that's right or wrong. Guys have diverse player collections, PCs, but I generally try and focus on probably the top rookie from each team and then a current superstar and then a superstar from the past. In my repack, I see you're wearing a Kings t-shirt at the moment.
Absolutely.
I'm going to look for a De'Aaron Fox. I'm going to look for a Sabonis. I'm going to look for a rookie like a Keegan Murray. I'm not going to go and buy a $600 Kevin Hertier flawless card because somebody would prefer to hit a $600 gold select auto of De'Aaron Fox than a higher end flawless Kevin Hertier. So I definitely have lots of fun buying for repack.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually negotiate more on cards that I'm putting into repack than I negotiate cards for my own PC.
Yep.
I just want to get the best value possible for the people that are buying into my repack. And I want them to see the graphic that I make and think, oh my God, that's like unbelievable. I can't believe it's got this card. I can't believe it's got that card. How did you fit this all in for that price? So I'm definitely very passionate when I'm buying for it.
Yeah.
And, I might see a PC card and I'll be like, yeah, it's $500. I'm going to buy it. I don't want to miss out on that. But when I'm buying for repack, I'm very more selective and try and drive a harder bargain against the seller. But that just is to get the better outcome for the repack and for the consumer.
It's easier to make your margin when you're doing it like that too. I suppose that's
Yeah, well, you want a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
People have to understand that when you do make a repack, it is a business.
Yeah.
Like I'm not hiding around the bushes here. It is. I do make a repack as a business.
Yeah.
Yes, I do make money out of it, and 99% of the money I do make out of it goes back into the hobby anyway. So it's not like I'm taking the money out of the hobby and flying off to Vanuatu. You'll see on a lot of the pages I'm reinvesting it very quickly.
Yeah. And so you were saying that you would try and pick a rookie, a current star, and a past star. So are you building a repack with 90 cards? Is that
No,
about?
that's just so my repacks generally have 48 cards. So when I'm saying I target those guys, is I won't. Every team is covered in my repack.
Right. Okay.
So whether it be with a card, piece of memorabilia, or if I can't find a good card for that particular repack, we put in break credit.
Yep.
So I might not have a Clippers hit for that repack, so I'll put in some break credit. Normally $5, $6, $7, $8, sometimes $1,200.
Yeah. Right.
Which is a fun way to reinvest into breaks and have some fun.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, say, I'm literally building a repack as we speak, which is hopefully going to be released tomorrow or Monday. And again, I'll use a Kings for example. I won't have a Kings hit. I'll be scrolling the pages on Facebook, and I will look for a Sabonis, a Fox, maybe like an old school Chris Webber, a Murray, but I won't put in a Alex Len. I won't put in something that's a good deal, and someone might come to me and go, "Oh, but it comes to $500 in there for $300," and I'll put myself in the person buying into the repack. Yep. I'm like, no, I don't want to hit one of those players. I want to hit a superstar, because generally what happens is a lot of people will hit a card in a repack, which I'll break online. And the first thing they do is they'll go to eBay, they'll go to 130point.com and say, "Oh, how good's that? I just paid $99 and I just hit a card that comps at $428. But they also want to have a connection to that card. Like they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Fox, he's one of the top 5 point guards in the game right now. I'd love to keep that. Oh, I can flip that Fox. I know Russell PC's Fox. I'm gonna hit up
easily
Russell
trade
and see
that,
what he
easily
has.
sell that into something for your PC. Yeah,
Correct.
Definitely.
And you see a lot of repacks that will have players, and you're like, it's just people getting rid of cards that they've had, or they've bought in this huge bulk deal, and they're getting rid of players that people don't really want or need, or can't trade, or can't sell, or they're not liquid cards. So I want to make sure that it's a card that either someone wants to really keep because it's a really high-end player, it's a really high-end rookie, or it's a liquid card which they can swap, trade, sell for another card.
So, and just to give some of this some context, because you've thrown out some numbers that are $1,200, $400. You said buy-in is $99, and is that at 30 teams? Is that how you price it?
Yeah, so my repacks have slightly different prices.
Yeah.
So my normal repack is a $99 buy-in, 30 spots.
Yep.
So $2,970 income. It's not hard for people to work out. I'm not hiding behind trees. My repack has 4 boxes per break.
Yep.
So in the repack, there's what we call a major hit. So every single set of 4, you're guaranteed to hit one of the 12 chase cards. There's a major hit, there's a break credit, and then 2 other cards in each lot of 4. Okay. And what I do is I show all my repacks on screen, and I let the people that buy in choose which lot of 4 we open. Because there's a bit of a stigma with repacks that, you can, what's the right word?
No, just say what it is, because by the way, that stigma is well deserved too, because there has been manipulation.
Of course, manipulation. Numbering of boxes. People know what's in the boxes.
Yeah, and giving friends or particular breakers boxes they know are loaded that are going to get high visibility. Yeah.
Some breakers that make their own repack will put boxes of their repack into mixers, but they will actually put those boxes in. So they basically know what's in those boxes, unless they're like heat sealed plastic and not numbered. So I show every box on screen, and I let the people that have bought into the break that are live on stream, you pick which boxes we're opening to make it as fair as possible. I've seen other break groups do a randomizer, like they'll number the boxes, which is also really fair. They'll randomize top, whatever it is. If it's one box, two box, top 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes, the other boxes we're going to open. So, yeah, I know a couple of years ago there was a couple of repacks and a couple of breakers that are doing a couple of shifty things, and that brought a bad light onto repacks, and there was lots of discussions on forums and your WhatsApp groups and wherever you're discussing cards. So I laid it all on the table. All 48 cards are put on my checklist. The checklist, there's a photo, a graphic, all boxes are on screen. The breakers choose which box we open, and that's how I do it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's what I think is the fairest way.
No, definitely. I would say the reason why I reached out to you is I would also say I approve of the way you do it. So I think, part of the reason why I like the way you do it is the transparency, because I think that's really important, because I think in some repacks they will show you the cream of the crop, but they won't show you what's filling out the bottom ends of it. I think that's the polite way of saying it. And so there is something that speaks to me about knowing what's 100% in the repack that's there. So, you can choose whether to buy in or, to not buy in. I have to admit, I quite like that. Yep.
Yeah. The rationale why I did it was, I'm not saying I'm revolutionary. When I started doing my own repack, I looked at basically repacks everywhere.
Yeah, right.
And I was looking at Hit Parade. I was looking at like some of the big repacks in America. I was looking at some of the really good repacks that were being done here. Like, I'm not just saying mine's the best, but I believe my product's the best, but there are other great products out there too.
Yeah.
And I was looking at everything, and I was like, nowhere was there a checklist. As you said, they were showing the cream. They were showing the Kobe Auto. They were showing the Jordan Rookie, but a full checklist, top to bottom of every single card.
Yeah.
At the time, I couldn't find any. And I was opening a repack on the breaks page. I'm not going to name the repack. It's actually a really good repack. But I was opening it, and out came this Anthony Davis card. It was a PSA 10, and it was quite an expensive repack.
Yeah.
And I got offline. I got a PM from the person that won it. I'm like, oh, how good, mate. Congratulations. You've just hit the AD. And he showed me the exact same card, as in it was the same PSA sequence card. It was numbered out of 10, and it had been bought on eBay for $1.29 US. And it was in a repack that was $350. And for me, my whole rationale is if you hit in my repack, the value of the card is greater than what your buy-in is. It has to be that. If you're the, in inverted commas, the winner, but the card is still valued less at your buy-in in a repack, the repack for me is no good.
Yeah, I think you can do that because you have the 4/30 proposition. But I think in the instance of, so let's just say cherry pie, they do need the $1.20 cards in there because every person who buys a cherry pie gets a card. So I think
that's completely different. A cherry pie is not a breaking product.
Oh, so the product you're referring to was built as a breaking product.
Correct.
Sure.
Yeah. If you're buying a cherry pie, it's like buying a pack of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the cherry pie is guaranteeing you that someone can hit a Jordan Rookie, someone can hit a Luka RPA, someone can hit a Kobe Auto. And I totally understand that. And
that's how they even that demographic, or they make the numbers work in that instance. Yeah.
I was on the Cherry Crew page a couple of weeks ago because they'd released a cherry pie, and they released a repack that was for the Asian card show in Macau.
Sure.
I can't remember what it was called. Anyway,
it was like a gold pack or a god pack, or they called it something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cherry picked or cherry. I bought a couple.
Yeah.
I was speaking to Dale, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy a couple and open them with my kids.
Yeah.
And someone, people post up their hits, and of course, if people don't hit well, say, oh, I've done so unlucky, and
you see both ends of the spectrum on the Cherry forums. You see the grumbles and you see the hits. So that's probably, I would say, that they're very fair in publishing both ends of that
Yeah,
too.
I went on there and I was. I don't have a relationship with Cherry, so I'm not saying I'm doing this on purpose. But I went on there and I was backing up Cherry. I'm like, you've got to understand when there's an upside, there has to be a downside.
Yeah. Not every
You know,
person's a winner. That's
if every person's a winner, Cherry's losing a lot of money putting that repack together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I do my repack.
What did you get out of the Cherry repacks, by the way?
This is how memorable it was.
I was going to say that's a very ominous long pause.
No, I think it was a PSA 10 Allen Iverson silver. I think it was 2017, 2018 select base silver. I hit. It was a Lamella.
It could be worse. It could be a Shengun PSA 6.
Yeah, I know someone that's got one of those. I hit a LaMelo Ball Exosphere, which is out of Flux. Yeah. Which I thought was valued a bit more when I looked it up, but I hit that. And I hit...
See, that also depends on your knowledge of science, doesn't it? Because it depends on how much you know about the atmosphere and where it sits. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know the distances of the atmosphere.
Well, the Exosphere is actually the high-end hit in that product.
Okay.
So you'll see on the back they've got little dots, and it's the 5 dot. It's the higher end LaMelo, and I hit.
Speaking of LaMelo, just while you spoke about, have you seen his All-Star voting for this year?
He's very popular.
I was going to say he hasn't done well at all. I think he's around 10th or 12th in the.
No, but for a guy that hasn't played,
I think DeMar DeRozan's got more votes than him this year. So
I was looking at it last week. I know we're getting off repacks here, but
we can go back. Don't worry. Segue is part of the show.
The popularity contest of the All-Star has to change somehow. I don't know
it's how it changes. It's a popularity contest, though. That's the idea of it.
I know, but...
The starters is the popularity contest, and then the All-Stars, I'm using air quotes now, is done by the coaches, the players. I like that.
Still some guys miss out every year that
definitely
probably should get in.
Yeah, definitely.
But
speaking of that, so it does matter because their contracts... They get a bonus for being an All-Star. And Zach Lowe, who's, in my mind, one of the better NBA writers and commentators, he actually withdrew his ability to vote because he didn't want that responsibility of moving someone's needle from $80 million to $100 million. So
it's very noble of him.
I don't know. I actually think it's a little bit... Gutless is not the right word, but you know what I mean? Like, why not have a say on that?
Oh, I know in AFL terms when ex-players and commentators get asked to vote on things like the Norm Smith, which is like the best on ground in the grand final. It's like a privilege to be asked to be
That's right.
A part of the voting. So
yeah,
if I was asked, I would definitely be voting.
Yeah. We've segued so hard to AFL. Okay. This is disgusting. I'm going to edit that AFL. I'm going to beep it out, actually.
That's all right.
I'm not having AFL on my podcast. This is terrible. All right. So back to repacks. Let's close. Let's get your final thoughts on repacks. So where are you at with that?
I'm not just saying this because I make a repack. I like the certainty of a repack. Let's not beat around the bush. I open both boxes and repacks. Both have pros and cons.
Yeah.
Right? You go into my repack, you're not going to hit a $200,000 card.
Yeah.
You know, people want to buy into Flawless, to NT. They want to hit that huge logo, man. They want to hit the huge RPA to 5 to 10, the true RPAs to 99 in NT.
Yeah.
99% of the time, you're not going to hit that in a repack. But my certainty is that if you're going to spend $99 in my repack break, you are going to hit a card that is $1,000 plus. One of the 30 spots. You are generally going to hit a card that's around the $600 to $700 mark. You are going to hit a $400 to $1,200 break credit voucher, and you are going to hit a card. My low end normally hits around $200, so double your buying if you hit at worst case scenario. Whereas you can go into a box of Spectra. Say you go into a box of Spectra and you're chasing a Color Blast or a nicer RPA or one of the variations. And an RPA might come out and it might be a Caleb Houston RPA to 49.
Yeah. Or Johnny Davis in my instance. That's the guy who's been chasing me around this year.
There you go. So you're like, oh, how good's that? I've just bought into a Spectra break and I've paid $40 for my spot and I've hit the magic. So you've done well to start with. You've hit the big team. You're chasing the Banchero, or you hit OKC, who's got a couple of rookies to hit. And then once you've hit the team, then I need to hit that card. And my rationale is why take the risk on that where I can already show you my repack. I've got a Kobe auto. I've got a LeBron auto. I've got a Luka auto, a Steph auto. I've got all these big cards already there, sitting there for you.
Yep.
I'm guaranteeing you that one of those big hits is going to be hit in this 4. I'm guaranteeing you that out of these other 24 cards and 12 break credits, you are going to hit, not you, one of those 30, 4 of those 30 entrants are going to hit those big cards. So and that's what brought me to about a year ago. It brought me to, I created a case hit only repack. I was obsessed with case hits. And this was my big thing. So people love blank slates, timeless moments, downtowns, auroras, whatever they are.
Yep.
Stained glass. And I'm like, people buy into I'll use Corking's blasters, for example. We're having a chat off air about blank slates.
Yep.
So say a Corking's blaster, I haven't done my maths on the spot here. Say they're $200 for a Corking's blaster on release day.
Yeah.
Right? There's 20 boxes, $200. It's $4,000, 30 spots, $133 a spot.
You are the maths man.
Right? So $133 a spot, and everybody buys a spot, and not every team, first of all, has a blank slate, but they're generally the stars and the top rookies.
I think they've changed that now. I think there is a blank for everyone, but that's fine.
Okay, anyway.
That doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, so again, I'll use a Magic, for example.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah. Keep going.
I hit the Magic, and I'm like, I'm sitting at my computer. Unbelievable. Yes, I got the Magic.
Yeah.
Right? Once I've hit the Magic, genuinely, it's not guaranteed, but generally there's one blank slate per case.
Yeah, so I'll just interject here again. I'm sorry to keep doing this to you.
That's all right.
There also have been cases with 0 blank slates.
I'm about to get to that.
Yeah. And there's also been cases with 2. So that was actually, if I can decompress here for 2 seconds, that was my biggest complaint this year about that product, was that the variability was so high from 0 to 2. Like that, and as a breaker, look, you always want people to hit, but seeing people go into a case and not even get one, it's very difficult.
That's not only this year. That's happened for the last 3 years.
It's very difficult, honestly. Yeah.
So what they do is they also have, obviously in the blaster cases, there's the auto to 8, which is, so like I opened a case, I didn't hit any blank slates. I hit 3 autos to 8. They were good autos too. I hit a Chet to 8, a Jabari Smith to 8, and someone else to 8, but they're all stickers. But people are going into case breaks of CK blasters to hit a blank slate. Like, that's what they want. So I think that's what they want.
So I actually don't recall exactly what we got, because I think we did 3 cases of that, and the one that we got 0 slates in, I don't think we got any good autographs at. It was a very average case, let me put it to you.
As I said, Panini, I'm not standing up for Panini, but they don't advertise it as 1 per case. It's just there's enough that have been opened and enough sample size that people say, you know what, there's generally at least 1 per case. So it's not advertised anywhere that there's 1 per case.
Isn't it advertised as case hit?
No. It's classified as a case hit, but it doesn't say guaranteed 1 per case.
Yeah.
So they call it a case hit. It's like when they classify in prison retail, they might say a pulsar is a case hit, but there's not 1 pulsar per case. I think it's the wording they use. It's not like we guarantee 1 pulsar per case.
Yeah.
But our case
they say on average. That's the wording that they like to lean back on. Yeah.
I think on some of the boxes they've actually taken the on average off. I was having this discussion with someone.
Okay.
It was some of the boxes. Anyway, we'll go back to a case hit repack.
Yeah.
So you've paid $133 for your Court King spot. You've hit one of the big chase teams.
Yeah.
And then a blank slate of, trying to rack my brain here, 1920 Corkings. You get a Bradley Beal blank slate for the Wizards.
Yep.
If you're the Wizards, you're happy.
Yep.
You've hit a blank slate probably worth $150, which is worth $17 more than you're buying. And I say, why go into that and spend $133 that one person might hit a blank slate? Why don't you go into my repack for $99, where I'm guaranteeing you that of the 4 cards, there is going to be either a blank slate, a timeless moments, a kaboom, any of the big chase case hits, and what a lot of the people go into those case breaks for.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's just using Claw Kings, for example, which is probably a lower end hobby product. It starts to get more expensive when you start buying to like a Crown Royale with, you're chasing the kabooms.
And Spectra,
Yeah, last year was a slight variation because they introduced the gold kabooms back.
Yeah.
Which are, fetching huge prices.
And appropriately so too, by the way. Those cards are amazing, honestly.
Yeah, we need that. But so if someone's buying, in Australia, a box
I think those cards are going to be very valuable long term too.
They start to drop a little bit. So I've been looking at them. I wanted to buy one for a repack. I really wanted a gold kaboom for a repack.
But if you look at the prices on PMGs that are numbered to what?
50?
Or sometimes even, don't they go up to 100 or 199?
Yeah, so the blue and the red.
Yeah, but so if that's numbered to 10, I really find it hard to almost not use that as a direct comp, to be perfectly honest.
But there's no rhyme, no reason to pricing in this hobby.
No, definitely not. But I think if you're trying to extend something out over the long term, I think those kabooms are, I think they're going to be.
I desperately want one for a repack. And there's a young kid in the hobby. He's not a kid. We speak quite often. He lives around the corner from me, and he puts up the sale of the day always on his page. So it's Kane Mills from Cards Oz. And the other day he put up a sale. I think from memory it was a KD. It was a KD or a Harden, and it sold for about $3,700 US. When they first, obviously, when the product comes out, there's a hype. The prices are inflated.
Yeah.
And I looked, and the price had probably dropped about 40%. So I've got quite a few of them on my watch list, and I do scour lots of forums and sales pages and apps on a daily basis. And I really, really, really want to get a gold kaboom for a repack. And I'm going to make it happen.
I'm not going to say I told you so because it's so ridiculous. But I feel like if you buy this and you put it into a repack in 20 years' time, you'll be like, I can't believe I bought that for 2 or 3 and I put it into a repack. Honestly,
there's lots of cards like that, but some have gone the other way as well.
Yeah, definitely. I just think those particular cards are going to stay.
Well, that goes back to my rationale when I said, you said, how do you build your repack? I want to buy cards that people really, really, really want.
Yeah, and that is a genuine chase card.
Yeah, I'm not buying stuff because chucking stuff in because I've got it in my car box and I want to get rid of it.
Yep.
I'm buying stuff that people really, really want. I think they really want. I might be wrong, but... Yeah.
All right, I want to do 4 minutes. I got 2 more questions, so I want pretty succinct, quick-fire answers here. So we're 2 years post-apocalypse. Summarize to me in 2 minutes your experience in the last 2 years in the hobby.
Okay. It's been absolutely crazy.
Crazy good, crazy bad?
Both.
Yeah.
It's not a told you so. As I said, I collected in the 90s. I saw the drop-off in the 90s. Everybody talks about this bubble. Obviously, there's an array of factors of why the boom happens.
Yep.
When it happened, the perfect storm came together and it created this huge twister that we're all caught in and got caught in.
Yep.
I was happy I got caught in it. It brought me back into the hobby.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what market you're in. It doesn't matter if it's cards, housing, watches, sneakers, whatever your kryptonite is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what market you're in. There's always opportunity. My favorite saying, which I read from it was a Lynn Fox book, was within adversity lies opportunity. So my whole thing is the market's gone down now, but I'm going to use my repack. My repack's now 20 times better than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, could I put in a LeBron auto, a Kobe auto, a Steph? I couldn't even put 3 of those in a repack of 48 cards.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Right? So now you're getting more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
I know people look at cards and collecting in a different way. I don't care what anybody says, and I've had this discussion with some very high-end collectors. People that say they are hobbyists and hobby people, you still care what the value of your collection is worth. It's like a house. You go buy a house and you're like, oh, I need 4 bedrooms. I've got 3 kids. I'd love a backyard for them to play in. And, people say it's a home, not a house. But at the end of the day, it's still an investment. It's still an asset. You never, ever want your assets or an investment to go down. So I've had these conversations with people like, oh, I don't care that the market's gone down because I collect it for the beauty of the cards. I love Michael Jordan. I'm buying these cards because they're Michael Jordan cards. And ever since I was a kid, I was totally in love with Michael Jordan. I said, yeah, but do you ever think, 2 years ago, my Michael Jordan collection was worth $5,000 and now my Michael Jordan collection is worth $2,000? And that's where I say it doesn't matter where the market sits.
I think it does. It does. I mean, that does matter. It also matters how much you spent and then how much you potentially lost. And then also, I think it depends on how much you dwell on losses too. If you buy into a break, how many nights and you get nothing back, how many nights does that keep you awake for? Does it not keep you awake one night or does it keep you awake for a week? I think it depends on your personality type. And then also too, you need to keep in your mind too, some collectors don't want to be associated with the dirtiness of buying and selling and the flipping part and going to breaks. They separate themselves from us dirty peasants,
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I still think that those people that perceive us as dirty peasants, they're still looking at how much their cards are worth, where they're sitting. They're still doing it. Yeah. I've got a perfect example. I won't use it. It's a friend. He got in just before the boom.
Yeah.
He hit in a break of a player. I don't want to say who it is because lots of people might know who this person is if I say who it is.
No, you don't need to say names. That's fine. It's no troubles.
He hit a player in a break, a very cheap break, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool." Didn't even really know who the player was, but it was like one of his first autos in the hobby, and then he went really hard before the boom.
Yeah.
And this person ended up being the top 3 player in their sport, and he ended up having a hundreds and hundreds of $1,000 collection.
Yeah.
That he had paid $2 or $3 grand for.
Yeah.
Literally hit the jackpot.
Which is the dream, isn't it? Of all of this. Yeah.
He had the absolute dream. And my conversations with him was I'm like, you've got to sell this now. Are you crazy? And he was like, oh, I'm only in it for a couple of grand. And he then became entrenched in the hobby. And he's like, but this is art, this is collectibles. And I'm like, you're crazy. You've invested $2,000-$3,000 and you've literally got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cards here. And he's like, nah, Jonno, you're crazy. And then about a year ago, he got a ridiculous offer from somebody in the US for all his cards.
Yeah.
He sold them.
Yeah.
I'm like, but isn't this is a hobby? It's an art. What are you doing? I flipped it on him. I'm like, I told you, you're mad not to take these deals. So even him who was like, no, it's a hobby. I don't want to sell it. When people do see those dollar signs, I don't care. It's not dirty. It's not greedy. At the end of the day, you say to yourself, I've made a good investment. I got lucky in a break. I've hit a player that's come from zero to hero. There's nothing wrong with cashing in on an investment. That's what life is. You can put that towards your house, your mortgage, your kids' education, another investment. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
No, I think it's fine. And look, if I can be honest with you, one of the reasons why I do like cards is because it's a hobby that costs money. But then if I do need to get some of that money back one day, I can sell some pieces. And do you know what I mean? So that really eases my, not that I have a burden in particular, but I do like that aspect of it, that it is a little bit liquid. So I don't really actually understand why people consider it to be. Yeah, actually, that sort of dirtiness confuses me a little bit. For me, that's like almost a very British sort of point of view, a very British perspective of, being the top of the town, or that. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah,
sort of
being very
perspective.
very pompous. I'm not
Yeah,
selling
yeah,
my
yeah,
cards.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Alrighty. So, in 1 minute, what's the
Yeah.
next 2 years going to look like? Do you think for the hobby?
Yeah, and I was talking about this with someone last week. Have Fanatics got in too late?
Do you think they
Time.
overpaid?
Well, we don't know the optics and the figures, but they have paid a lot of money for a lot of these licenses.
Yeah,
Andrew Rubin, no, Michael Rubin.
yeah.
Michael Rubin is a genius. Everything he's touched and his family have touched has turned to gold. Fanatics is a huge juggernaut. I buy all my clothes off Fanatics. This arrived yesterday, my Gators t-shirt from Fanatics.
Do you find that they don't wash very well, though, that the prints come off?
They shrink. And look, I literally washed it yesterday before I wore it. My little champion toggle's coming off.
I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I've got a fair bit of Fanatic stuff in my closet too. They don't wash that well. I find the prints, like, look at this. Look how cracked this print is, And if this is the quality that they make in the cards, I'm not particularly warmed from this,
I think they'll be all right. They're I think, and I'm turning to money again, there's too many people with too much money invested in the hobby for it to die like it did in the late 90s, where they classify as the junk wax era. You've got huge investment funds in the US that have, just invested in sports memorabilia and cards. You've got a huge amount of people, like in the 90s, it was more of a kid's game collecting. Whereas now it's more adults, shrewd investors, shrewd collectors, people, collecting kids, players from their childhood. And I don't think the hobby will die. I know that, there were still collectors from the early 2000s until the boom again in the early 2019. But I just think the sheer amount of people that are into it now, the hobby won't die. Will it strive? The cost of living is a huge factor.
Yeah, and it's getting harder too. I think that's the other thing. I feel like maybe in my head I thought inflation might have eased off a little bit more, but without going into this too much, but we just came back from London, Singapore, and the States, and the cost of living since I've been back to all of those countries was very, very noticeable to me, in addition to our very weak Australian dollar at the moment. Do you know what I mean? So you're almost like getting like a double whammy, from my point of view going over there. It was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a different perspective. Cards and breaking and repack aren't my everyday day job.
Yeah.
So, I work in a business where we sell wants, not needs. I won't go into that, but
that's fine.
The discretionary spending is something that I literally look at every day. I sell to a lot of retailers across Australia, and obviously, the cost of living is hitting home. It's hitting home for us.
Yeah.
Mortgages, bills, what have you.
Definitely.
So I definitely think discretionary spending is down. Do I think that the very male-dominated hobby of basketball card collecting, do they hide it from their wives, their girlfriends, their partners? Yes.
That's what your PayPal account's for, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But a lot of people now need to decide, am I going to go into a break? Am I going to buy a pack? Am I going to buy a blaster? Or am I going to take the kids to the footy? Or am I going to take the kids to a basketball game? Or am I going to buy a new jersey? Or do I need a new pair of runners? In my perspective, I'd be spending the money on doing stuff with my kids and experiences with my kids.
Yeah.
I know I'm talking against my own side hustle and side business, but the hobby is going to get tough. But you'll see a lot more now, and at the hobby hangout particularly, I had a booth there, and I probably had, this is no exaggeration, 500 people saying, do you want to trade? Whereas the hobby hangout in March or April was, can you do a better price on that card? Or can you do a better price on that jersey? The first question and the most amount of questions I was getting was, do you want to trade?
Yeah.
And you're seeing that a lot more on sales posts now on Facebook pages. you'll see down the bottom, trade question mark, trade in cash question mark.
Yep.
Whereas 18 months ago, some of these cards would have been like listed, have been like sold, next in line, next in line, next in line, next in line.
Yep.
So as I said, it is getting tougher. Will the hobby thrive? Probably not. Will it survive? Yes. And then the stuff with Fanatics, now you're seeing that LeBron signed on with Topps. That's going to be a huge motivating factor. Wemby, there's not going to be any signed rookies of Wemby and Panini product.
Yeah, but he will be in Fanatics.
He will be in Fanatics. So I think the first year of the Fanatics Wemby effect will be big. Does Michael Rubin make a huge play for Jordan? That would be crazy.
That's what Adam predicted.
I still got in my head they're going to buy Upper Deck. And purely for Tiger, Gretzky, Jordan, Serena Williams. You're talking about like the goats of all the sports. For me, it doesn't make sense for
they're just sitting on the shelf.
For them not to make a play at Upper Deck. It seems like they've got the motivation to take over the card and memorabilia world.
Yeah.
So if those players, I desperately want a Tiger Woods auto at the moment.
Yeah.
I desperately want a Serena Williams auto at the moment.
Yeah.
But some of them are crazy prices because they are at Upper Deck. And does Ruben somehow get them into Fanatics?
Yeah.
Make this huge juggernaut and then make it, as I said, not just the survive period, but
we have a new sponsor supporting the show. It is the Bangman, who is a new startup and have been operating since June this year, delivering a variety of hobby packs in a single box at an affordable price. So far, they've delivered some huge hits. The biggest one they've pulled so far is a Steph Curry Signatures Gold Auto to 10, which came out of the July edition. Some comps have been rounded up to about 15k AUD, which was verified by Card Letter. So if you're not familiar with what the Bangman is and what their product is offering, it's basically an assortment of hobby packets put into a box at an affordable buy-in. You can then open a variety of different hobby packs. Some of the advantages of buying into a product such as this is that you can sample a whole bunch of different products. Another way to think of it is doing your own break at home. The advantage of the Bangman's product is you are purchasing sealed, unsearched hobby packs as opposed to a single card repack product that has a huge range in value. Just to make the clear delineation between the Bangman's product and any traditional repack, when you buy into a Bangman product, you are getting the guarantee of the Panini seal, and then all of the hits then come out of sealed products. So all the numbered cards, if appropriate for the product, rookie patch autographs, signature cards, and of course those super short prints and case hits. Another key point for the Bangman product is that they have an assortment of different hobby packs in a custom box at two different price points, one being a gold edition and the other being a silver edition. Each month, the Bangman changes up the pack so it's not the same constant lineup. For listeners of our podcast, we have an exclusive deal for you. Use promo code youcantcompthis to get a $15 discount off your next purchase. Find the Bangman on Instagram, the.bang.man, and on Facebook, the Bangman. Thank you so much, Amir and Team Bangman.
So my original love was memorabilia.
Right.
I love memorabilia.
I don't have much time for memorabilia. It's too big. Takes up too much space.
Yeah. It's a long story. Mine started with AFL memorabilia, turned into NBA memorabilia. I do have a stupid amount. I've been clearing a little bit on the pages the last 3 days, which I haven't done for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've got a nice Tiger Woods Upper Deck memorabilia piece sitting in my office. I like memorabilia because it's on show. I can see it every day. I walk into my office and I've got a Jordan Wings poster. I've got my little Tiger sign piece, a little Jordan sign piece. I've got a Shane Warne sign piece in my office. I've convinced my wife. It sounds sad, but we do have some basketball jerseys hanging in our bedroom as we speak.
How did you convince your wife that?
You've been to my house. You've seen that we've got a basketball loving family.
Okay. Yeah, fair
But
enough. Yeah.
basketball is at the core of our family.
Yeah.
My wife is
She enjoys basketball too. Yeah, that is, I suppose
she
that's
plays
fair.
basketball, watches basketball, and
Yeah.
she sorts my breaks for me.
Jeez.
She's I'm a lucky man.
You are the luckiest man on earth by the sounds of this.
Batting above my average by a long, long way. So yeah, memorabilia. Yeah, Tiger Woods for me is I'm not a massive golf fan. As in, like, I watch the majors. I'm not like following it throughout the year.
Yep.
Like a lot of us, like at the tennis at the moment, I guess, with the
You
Australian
can
Open.
appreciate greatness when you see it. I think that's how I feel about Tiger, and I can't stand golf. Thank you to our sponsor, EJ Cards, a small but motivated company specializing in cards. EJ Cards believe passionately in great bargains and excellent service, which is why they commit themselves to give you the best of both. If you're looking for something new, you're in the right place. EJ Cards strive to be industrious and innovative, offering customers something they want, putting their desires at the top of the priority list. Find EJ Cards at www.ejcards.com.au.
Yeah, so one of the members of Mailman Breaks, he was showing me some Tiger Woods that he was chasing. I'm like, you know what? I actually want to get a piece from all the people that I classify as the GOATs.
Yeah.
Like I've got a Jordan piece. I know he's not the GOAT, but like I've got my Kobe piece. I've got my LeBron piece.
Yeah.
That's marked off.
Have you got a Gretzky then?
So I've got a signed upper deck piece. It's Jordan, Gretzky, and I don't have a Gretzky card. So I do want to match a card to my memorabilia pieces. And so eventually I'll get around to getting a Gretzky piece.
Yep.
And yeah, so the next on my hit list is a Tiger Woods. And then I want to pick up something of Roger Federer.
Okay.
So Djokovic for me is like he's LeBron. I admire how good he is.
Yep.
I understand why people might call him the GOAT, but for me, Federer's still the GOAT in the tennis game.
Yep.
So yeah, I will eventually get around to it. Yeah, going back to some things. Yeah, memorabilia is my number one love.
So just going back to Fanatics for 2 seconds, I actually think they paid a lot for the licensing, and you could definitely make the argument that they overpaid for it. The only thing that, and again, we'll talk about this last week on the show, they're going into the gambling arena.
Yeah.
And so this is the part where I think they're most likely going to succeed out of all of this. You know, how much does gambling and sports cards go hand in hand? And I think there's a pretty big argument to say that those things are pretty closely related in some way. And I prefer to gamble on sports cards than gamble on sports. That's just my 2 cents.
I'm with you. My friends can't fathom. So I used to play poker professionally.
Sure.
Used to still play, but now just with mates.
Yeah.
Played poker professionally. It's going to sound like a degenerate here. I was at the casino every single day for 6 years. I was traveling the world, Vegas, Monte Carlo, playing poker professionally. Love sports. Never had the itch to gamble on sports.
Yep.
And my friends are like, you're obsessed with sport, you're obsessed with poker. Like, they come hand in hand, but I understand it's the same demographic, but I would much prefer to gamble on buying a card. Like, I get enough enjoyment watching a basketball game. I don't need to have Jason Tatum at 7.5 rebounds plus.
Yep.
I'm happy just to say, oh my God, that was an unbelievable game. How cool was that?
Well, but where I'm going with this, I just wonder if they meld the two together in such a way that they essentially bring the two groups in together. So,
well, that's what I'm saying. Normally, the gambler / collector is a very similar demographic.
Yeah.
So once they've captivated the audience with the cards and they've got the gambling aspect, and then they've got all these other, they're getting all these guys now at the moment to break for them on whatnot. They've obviously got a bigger play in their minds.
Definitely.
Everyone's got their theories of what it's going to be and how they're going to make it all connect and click together.
Yeah.
But as I said, they're very smart people. They've got
that's
very
right.
smart people
And they've spoken about growing it. And I think that's maybe where they're going to do so much better than Panini. Like, other than revolutionizing quite a number of aspects in the hobby, I don't think they've done enough advertising or done enough to, bring people together. And I think that's the part where Fanatics is going to change it. And so, look, actually, for me, the next 2 years, I don't feel too stressed about it at all. I actually think it's going to keep, growing. I think the question is what are the prices going to look like? I think that's the thing that, potentially could keep changing. But if the prices do go down a bit, well, then actually, sometimes I don't mind that. I think having more affordable buy-ins, I don't think is like the worst thing in the world. So, that's
an
the
amazing
part.
thing.
Yeah, that's the part that I like, because I think the part that I don't really like about the hobby at the moment, and particularly in the last, few years, it's just been so hard to sit down and open a hobby box. Like in the last few years, how many times have I done that? Maybe once or twice. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, no,
it's just
I totally get it.
yeah,
I sit there and I've opened some boxes with my boys. Like
yeah,
I've got some young kids that are obsessed with basketball because of me, obsessed with cards now.
yeah,
And that's a thing that we do on their birthdays. That's what they ask for. They ask for a box of basketball cards. Or they've got into Pokemon. I don't understand Pokemon, but they've got into Pokemon a little bit. And that's what
I
they
think
love.
Pokemon is a lot more kid friendly, man.
Yeah, but for me, it's a picture of a cartoon on a piece of cardboard, which
Yeah.
I find hard to understand.
Yeah, but my dad just says it's a picture of, men on cardboard. Like
Yeah, no, I get that. But yeah, same. Like we all have different budgets for cards, etc.
yeah,
Yours might be higher than mine. Mine might be higher than the next
yeah,
person. But opening hobby boxes yourself is quite unattainable at the price they were, and that's why one of the factors why breaks went crazy as well.
yeah, definitely.
You're paying 1/30th of the price,
Yeah,
and still having that same enjoyment factor, and still having that same thrill, and your heart rate gets going a little bit.
yeah,
But no, yeah, Fanatics. I actually wrote an email to Fanatics. I've got a couple of contacts at Fanatics, and
okay,
I'm sure they're not going to take my advice on board.
yeah,
But what's the right word? I won't say I begged them, but I pleaded with them to get rid of redemptions.
yeah,
If you don't have the auto on hand, don't put that player in that set. If you know you're not going to have that player signing, don't do it. Because, again, I know that's a whole different story, but the redemption, the fact that somebody can say you buy a box, forget a break, you go and buy a box for $1,000 and you hit a Luca redemption and you're over the moon.
yeah,
I've hit Luca, I've hit the baby goat. That's what I wanted. I love Luca, I've got him.
yeah,
And then after 180 days, you get a message, would you like some Panini points or would you like a replacement? Sure, I'd like a replacement, but with another Luca, please. Oh, no, sorry, we don't have any Lucas on hand at the moment. And then all of a sudden you get a white box of Steph. Awesome, it's a Steph auto, but it's stamped white box, 1 of 1 on the back. I don't want that.
yeah,
I want my Luca to 49 that I've hit in my pack that I've now got an attachment to because I hit that in a pack.
Yeah.
I hit that in a break.
and that does matter. Yeah,
Of course it matters.
Yeah.
So I've actually sent a couple of emails and had responses just saying thank you for your input and we'll pass on your information.
yeah,
But pleaded for them to I'm not saying it's Panini's fault, but look at the feedback that the Panini have had from collectors and try and improve. I'm sure they will be trying to do that, but try and improve on the bugbears of collectors, of the things that they hate that currently come out of Panini.
I think in a perfect world there wouldn't be redemptions, but I think to keep product coming out on a timeline that's relatively timely, and keeping in mind we're already 12 months behind on release dates already, and we still have redemptions.
We still have redemptions. Products are late, but you look at stuff like, I understand asking the players to sign. They're signing ridiculous amounts of autos. We're not talking
Which
about
they
100
agreed
autos.
to. Hang on a second, they agreed to that though. That's not like
but what I'm saying is that they managed to get next day autos. Right, next day autos for me is a huge chase.
Yeah.
First ever auto when you've been signed and picked to that NBA team.
So they were taken out of the product for
2 years.
2 years, and now they're
because of COVID. They're back.
They're back, are they?
Yeah. Oh, so sorry, they were taken out of the product for a year.
Yeah.
Sorry, a year. 2021, there was no next day orders.
Yeah.
But like stuff like that is like, say for example, LaMelo, who there were like all these murmurings, he's never going to sign, and people were clamoring to pick up his like flawless collegiate autos, which were, by the way, full LaMelo Ball. I still love them, by the way.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, Fanatics brought out like signed LaMelo jerseys. There was only 25 of them made, and everyone's like, oh, you've got to get that jersey. First of all, it's signed full LaMelo Ball, and he's never going to sign cards, right? So my whole thing is if Panini had doubts that he was ever going to sign cards, it's fraudulent for them to put in a redemption with LaMelo Ball and then offer, oh, sorry, we don't have any LaMelo Ball cards signed at the moment. We can offer you a different player, right? And I've had so many emails back and forth with Panini about that, saying like, I know they don't care, but at the time, that redemption is worth $1,500. So I want a card back that is worth $1,500.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to give me a LaMelo, I'm happy to take a different LaMelo, but if you don't have that, I want the ability to choose which player I want. Like, you're selling a product with something in it that you're not guaranteeing that I can ever get back.
Yeah.
Which for me is not the right thing.
So no, it's definitely bad business practice. But I think the example of LaMelo Ball, though, that was a little bit more complicated because if my memory serves me correctly, he had a contract he signed in Prism Draft, and then he disputed that his contract went further than that. His understanding or his interpretation of the contract was it was only for Prism Draft. It wasn't for Prism NBA. And then they renegotiated his deal. And then but that took them more than 12 months to ratify. And then he then did start signing and most of it, if not all of it, got signed, but there was some replacements taken up.
But not just one example, even Giannis, for example. So there was just a huge batch a couple of months ago that got released from Giannis, but he hadn't signed for a good 3 years.
I feel like I'm a Panini defender. Hang on a second. Giannis was holding on to cards.
He's kept a lot of his one-of-ones.
And held all of his one-of-ones. And then collectors literally had to write him letters to explain to him the impact and the significance of, what he was and wasn't doing. Like, actually, and this is part of the problem, the athletes aren't fulfilling their end of the contract. They do sign contracts with Panini, but then, and this is only two athletes that you're talking about, but Jordan was well known for that. He would go to signing sessions. He would have an agreement lot. He would get tired after half an hour and then say, oh, I'm going to the golf course now. And then Kobe always wanted to be like Jordan and did very similar practices,
I know, but what I'm saying is if you're selling a product and you're forget what the market price is on boxes, because the market price and actual normal RRP on prices, which a lot of collectors don't know,
is not set by Panini.
Correct. Completely different.
Yeah.
Right? If I was to tell, not you, but some of our listeners that may not know, the wholesale prices of a box of NT or Flawless, you would be gobsmacked and fall on the floor and say, I'll have 20 cases of that, please.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is if you're selling a product and in the checklist you have a set of players that are in, let's use Noir, for example. We've got the sneaker spotlights in this. We've got the spotlight signatures in this. We've got the shadow box autos in this. And then there is a chance that you can physically hit that redemption and never receive that card. Whether it be the onus, some of it is on the player, some of it is on Panini. From my point of view, that's just not right. It's like buying a house and the carpet's included, and then you move in 3 months later. Where's the carpet? I paid for the carpet.
No, I agree with you 100%, by the way. But what I'm trying to say to you is I think Panini has contracts with these people, and for whatever reasons, they either can't organize the logistics appropriately, and whether that's shipping and transport or whether that's getting the cards printed. And then also too, they can't make sure that the athletes sign them. So the big one for me was Darren. So I collect Darren Fox, right?
Yeah, I know that.
There was videos of Darren Fox signing autographs, and I am not joking you. He was like flipping them, and they were spinning through the air and landing on the corners, right? So then there's a lot of Darren Fox stuff that came out of boxes and very badly damaged. You wouldn't even send it off to PSA. Not even like Blind Freddy Me that just had like a terrible sub comeback. And so that was the same thing. Literally, fans were writing him letters saying like, please, man, look after your cards a bit better. So I think that is part of it. The real question for me is like, how do you fix this problem? Because I don't ever see them having products without redemptions. I know Fanatics don't want to do it, but I can almost bet you anything that you would like, there's going to be redemptions in that, because that's just, you have that very idealistic, honeymoon perspective, when you get into the business. But I don't think that's how it's going to, pan out. But also, too, what are they going to do? Take them to court and litigate these guys? They want to keep them on, a relatively
good terms.
Yeah, right. And I don't think that's part of the problem. Like, they're literally hamstrung. What can you do to these guys other than pay them above their, agreed value to come back? And that's exactly what happened with LaMelo.
I've got a feeling Fanatics are going to, as you said, whether it be a payment thing, a financial thing,
it has to be money.
I've got a thing in my head. It has
to be money. They have to double the fee or triple the fee. That's
so in my suggestion to Fanatics,
yeah,
I'll send you the email. I basically said Fanatics need to contact the Players Association, and they need to say to the players, we're going to the Dallas Mavericks today, and every player must be in attendance, and we're going to sit there for 12 hours. And we are going to sign 2,000 autographs each, 3,000, whatever the number they need is.
So then they're all stickers.
No. They're going to have the cards ready. I'm in manufacturing. It is not hard to manufacture cards. It is not a hard process, right? If they sit there, if Fanatics hopefully have their shit together, excuse my French.
Yep.
Right? And after a week of a basketball season, they can have 1,000 different graphics of every player.
Yeah,
it's not hard for them to take photos,
yeah,
right?
And there's a lot of, definitely. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
I presume Fanatics have already started to work out what their sets are going to be called, what their equivalent of the floors is going to be, what their equivalent of the prism is going to be.
I think they do plan out a couple of years ahead. Yeah, definitely.
Correct, right? And they've already got the graphics going for this, what that set's going to look like, what the case hits are going to look like. And then they get in there, first week of the NBA season. They can get a photo in their away jersey, their home jersey, maybe a city edition jersey, whatever it is. So they've got different jerseys, different looks.
Yeah.
So all the cards that aren't game-worn patch cards can literally be designed, implemented in a very short period of time and manufactured in a short period of time. Right, so imagine all those cards, and then even after the first week, they have an agreement with all the teams. We're getting every jersey that they've worn for the first 5 games.
But that means you would need the entire year of cards printed in a week. Like,
no, you don't need to get them printed in a week because there's a release schedule.
But you said you want all the athletes to sit down and sign everything for 12 hours.
Yeah, but not a week. Say after a week, they've got all the graphics done. The graphics are already done. They just need the players' photos and images wearing the NBA uniform.
Yeah.
Right? We're still getting cards from Panini now where people are wearing Knicks jerseys and they've been playing for the Bulls for 2 years. Right? So you get those graphics done. The template of the card is already made. The player's name's already in there. The stats are already on the back, etc.
Yeah.
Pop it in and you go to the manufacturer, wherever Fanatics decide to manufacture it, whether it be in US or China, wherever it is, they can mass produce those sets and put them into the packets and boxes. And well, they won't put it in the packets yet. They just print the cards,
and
get them into the players in a very, 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 very short period of time. This is my background. Manufacturing and importing is my background. They then go, say after a month, 6 weeks, because none of the products are getting released close to the start of the NBA season anyway.
Yeah,
and say, today we were the Dallas Mavericks. We are sitting here and we are signing these cards. And Fanatic goes with people. I saw Luca yesterday signing cards.
Yeah.
And he literally had a person placing the card in front of him, signing next.
Yeah,
placing the card in front of him, signing. Right?
Right.
So it's Fanatics are keeping the integrity of the cards, not a player sitting there like your De'Aaron Fox example, throwing the cards around or doing mishandling them, getting the red corners. Of course, there's going to be damage sometimes.
Definitely.
It's going to happen.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
But they need to make a way that they've invested all this money. They want the collectors to stay. They want the investors to stay.
Yeah.
And they need to do everything possible to get product out on time with all the autos in there in good condition. And we're not waiting for the 24-25 season for the 23-24 immaculate, impeccable, and flawless to be released.
I agree 100%, by the way, with what you're saying. I just think there must be a reason why they're a year behind. The logistics of, getting all this done, I'm assuming, is a bit more difficult than perhaps you're portraying. I'm trying to say this in the most PC way possible, right?
I'm telling you, I'm not saying I know everything. This is literally my market: importing, manufacturing.
Yeah.
This is what I do on a daily basis for the last 20 years.
Yeah, sure.
And I've looked into this. I may have looked in the last year into manufacturing cars for another sport, trying to get a license. It didn't happen.
Okay. Can you say what sport it was?
It's an Australian sport.
Okay.
Don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Nah, don't. But we don't need controversy on the show. Yeah.
We just me and a mate looked at potentially trying to acquire a license for an Australian sport and how manufacturing would work and we sat down with another Australian manufacturer who helped us a fair bit and told us how he did things. And they've got the person we spoke to has a pretty, not as big as Panini, it's only an Australian sport, but has a pretty far reach, selling thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of boxes actually, and how quickly they turn it over.
Yeah.
It's not as difficult as you think. And when you're a company of Panini's size, when you've got the resources of their size, when you've got the staff numbers of their size, I'm not downplaying it. It is a lot of work, but if there are boxes selling at market price of, again, it's nothing they can control, but $10,000-$15,000, I don't want to hit a redemption of Luca and Flawless.
No.
I don't want to.
We are definitely in agreement on that. I'm definitely. Hey, I'll just I'll throw this into the mix because I think this is going to be an interesting point. If they're now 12 months behind, what if Fanatics comes into this space very well prepared? As let's just say they took your email and used it as a Bible. He added it to the manifesto. He did a version 2 and he put the Jonno Michaels email as in the appendix, right?
It's a Fanatics head office as we speak on their whiteboard.
That's right. So you're now in the manifesto. And is it possible we're going to be seeing Fanatics releases at the same time as Panini? Because there is going to be or are we just going to lose 12 months of products because Panini isn't going to be able to release products anymore? Do you know what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, I had the exact... A lot of these conversations you're bringing up, I've had them before with people.
Sure.
So I said to somebody, imagine, I don't know what the exact date is, January 2025, Fanatics take over.
Yeah.
So I said, what could happen is in December 2024, Panini's last ever release, whatever it is, Immaculate, could be a 2-year difference compared to the release from the Fanatics brings out. So does Fanatics backdate it? Because they want to make sure that the rookie class of 23, 24, or 24, 25 isn't missed out? Or is there literally, as you said, a lull, and there's this whole year of cards that don't get released? I've got a feeling the Fanatics, whatever products aren't released, what year, there'll be some product of some sort, but it might not be the volume. There are so many sets at the moment coming out of Panini, whereas because I presume Fanatics aren't going to have the same brands, they're not going to have Prism, they're not going to have Flawless, they're not going to have whatever it is.
Well, they've got Topps Chrome for Prisms. I feel like that's pretty well covered.
No, but what I'm saying is because they're going to be different brands, you're not going to say, Fanatics aren't bringing out a 23-24 Prism, because you'll say Panini's only releases for that 23-24 season, or 20, whenever the contract is X amount of sets. And I think that Panini will have this mad rush where there'll be a release every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was actually planned for now. As in, if you look at the release schedule, there was a 6-week period from the middle of December until the end of January now, where there was supposed to be Immaculate, Flawless, Origins, Court Kings.
I think that's now February, March. Looks insane, doesn't it?
Prism Retail. So that was all clustered now. And a lot of collectors are like, well, I'm not going to be able to buy all those boxes in that short period of time, especially around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Christmas, back to school in Australia. When there are a lot of expenses for families. And I was looking at it, and when I originally saw Flawless being released on the 27th of December, I'm like, that is the worst time ever to drop the highest end product in the game. Forget about Eminence, because that only happens every few years. Literally, when are people the most cash poor? Directly after Christmas.
Yeah.
Whether it be Christmas gifts, holidays, whatever it is. And then when I originally saw, they originally pushed it back till end of January, and now it's coming out in March at the moment, from memory, Flawless. But there was that huge cluster, and I said to some mates, I'm like, that cluster which we're always talking about, where Panini are going to try and just push out everything possible until their contract's over.
Yeah.
That was like, I thought, this is the start of it now. Look at this. There's 6 products being released in 6 weeks, which is madness.
But they're still a year behind.
They're still a year behind, but I feel like that cluster is going to become even bigger by the time their contract ends.
Because if they're going to essentially do 2 years of product in 1 year,
they're just going to throw everything at you. You could literally have like 2 years of Prism being released within 4 months of each other.
And I mean, if they can actually achieve that, that will probably go to your point of what you were saying before. It's not that difficult to
you can do it
to do this, large volumes of production. But I think what I would be worried about is redemptions is going to be, in these products. Like, there's no way they could do that 2 years in one and get them on card signed. And then just the quality control. Like, obviously, just to give some context to this, I just got a PSA sub today that was from Prism Retail, and I didn't get a single 10. So right now, what I'm thinking about is, how is the quality of all this stuff going to be? Like, if they're going to be pumping out this stuff, like, the quality control, is not going to be there.
Yeah. Well, there's so many things with quality control, and there's so many other stories. Like, I always have these conversations. I know you said for me to give you a 1 minute explanation of this. Like, I'm always thinking of like stuff like higher end product like Noir, Flawless, NT, when it comes in a box and none of it's protected. And, you're trying to get, I'm turning the box upside down on my screen. I don't want anyone to see what cards are coming out. And I've got no doubt in my mind that when I'll use Noir, for example, which have, are known to have very bad corners. And whenever you see a card for sale, it'll be like typical Noir widening, because, it's a small box which comes in a box. When it gets shipped from us, I'm just using Australia, for example, gets shipped from the States to Australia, to a retail store, to a breaker, then you're getting the cards out. This widening is going to be happening. So again, I've got all these ideas of how they can stop that. Why don't they make every card in a high-end product in a one-touch? Already put it in a sleeve and a top loader, and then a Fanatics sticker for when Fanatics take over. When you open a Flawless case, how excited you are to already get that slabbed card. So I'm thinking, like, when you're bringing out a product that's high-end, and whatever that high-end product's going to be for Fanatics, why don't they already slab those cards like an encase, like a one-on-one? And you still get bad condition cards in those products, but much less than you get in other products.
So I think, to answer that question specifically, my understanding is Flawless is one of the few products now that is hand-packed, whereas Noir, Court Kings, blah, 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 that's machine-packed. I think that's the difference between those.
I understand with no disregard to Court Kings, but that's classified as a lower hobby product.
Yeah, sure. But
if whatever the version of Noir, whatever the version of NT, whatever the version of Flawless that Fanatics are going to come out with, why not have them hand-packed? You're investing so much money into these licenses and these contracts. You want the consumer to be happy. You want the consumer to keep on buying the products. What would the cost difference
be between a machine packing it and a human? It would have to be astronomical. Because we're talking about millions of packets. So, like, we're not talking,
Depends where you're getting it packed. Wages, the base wage in the US isn't that high. Let's face the facts. If you can get a production line, I don't know if you've ever seen. Do you follow Fanatics on Instagram?
On Twitter, I do, not on Insta.
Okay, probably the same.
Yeah.
They actually, so they go around their warehouse and they show how their orders get packed.
Yeah.
And they go around, they ask them the stuff, like, what's your favorite jersey, or what's your favorite autograph piece that we sell, and these are orders that are getting hand packed. I buy this one t-shirt on Fanatics, it is getting hand packed. It's not like, I've been to some warehouses from my other business where it's all computer robots packing. You can go online and watch how the supermarkets pack their online orders. It's crazy. So Fanatics are already doing this with their clothing inventory. And for those of you that haven't been on Fanatics' website, go on there. You're talking about tens and tens of thousands of SKUs across every sport imaginable and every college team imaginable. And I'm a bigger guy. I like Fanatics. Fanatics have big sizes. And I wrote to them once and I said, listen, I got a t-shirt, going back to your quality control, where the print was pretty off skew. And they're like, oh, we actually hand print a lot of the bigger sizes. So they'll have blank tees in black. And then they will, I'm not saying this one because this one's a champion one, but some of the Fanatics branded ones, they physically hand print that t-shirt. And I'm like, going back to that, how can they hand print that t-shirt and sell me that college t-shirt for $14.99 US? I'm like, they've got to pay for the t-shirt. Someone goes and picks that t-shirt in my 4XL. They then go and print the print on the t-shirt, put it in the plastic bag, a machine heat seals it, and they ship it to me.
Yeah, I think they're the Amazon of clothes and sports memorabilia, where they're just doing so much volume that, they're making money in the aggregate. And now if they're making money with sports gambling, I think all that's, as long as they've got the monopoly, I think all of that stuff just kind of evens out. And yeah.
Let's hope they put that care and handle into our sports cards. As I said, I'd love to see all high-end product come in one touches or sleeves and top loaders that are sealed.
Yeah.
Where not even for the value, just for the aesthetics. I've hit some beautiful cards for customers. I've hit some beautiful cards myself that you just look at them and you're like, I'm so bummed for them. Like, it's not even my card. It's your card. You've hit the card, and I want that card to be in, I'm not saying perfect condition, but just like good condition for you. You've put your hard-earned money into a break, and I want you to have hit a great card, or your PC player, or you've bought that team in a PYT, and you're chasing that Halliburton card, and you've hit it. You're like, oh, it's got four of the worst corners you've ever seen in your life in a high-end noir product.
It's
gut-wrenching.
Yeah, it is gut-wrenching. I think that's the best way to say. Yeah. All right, final thoughts. What do you got? What do you got for me? What's your final thoughts?
What do I got for you? Everybody, listen to Russell and Adam. Tune in. I tune in a lot.
You do. You are definitely one of our larger supporters, so thank you so much.
Get in the comment section.
Yep.
Collect who you like. Don't let other people sway who you collect, what you like. It's like anything in life. We all have different tastes. If we're all the same, would be boring. Yes, it is a hobby. Don't overspend. Keep within your means. If you've got kids, get your kids into the hobby.
Yep.
It's so much fun doing that stuff with your kids.
Yep.
Ripping packs with your kids is literally... I've been very privileged enough that through the last 3 years of breaking, I've opened thousands of boxes of the best product possible. I still get the most enjoyment of opening a pack of Prism Retail with my sons and seeing them hit a Steph Curry base, which they think is like the best thing of all time. And Dad, can I take a one touch and chuck it in a one touch? They want to put a mailman sticker on it. I'm like, do it. I still have the most fun doing that stuff.
Yep.
It brings me back to my childhood, and we wish I could have done that with my dad, but he wasn't into basketball cards.
Yep.
Watch basketball. If you can't afford breaks, breakers still love you jumping on in the comment section and discussing the games that happened today and how he hit 13 threes and what do you think of Tatum's playoff performances? Can Jaylen Brown go left? Like we all love basketball. We have all the same things in common, whether it be whatever it is, NFL, AFL, whatever you collect. don't be ashamed to show off your PC if they are $5 cards. You know, lots of people say, oh, not the biggest hit, but my biggest card in my collection. Like, that's awesome. Like, it's not a bad thing that your best card's a $50 card or a $5 card or a $10 card.
I think my favorite Instagram accounts at the moment are just dudes who are just putting up, and I'm saying this in the kindest way possible, very average cards. And I love it because they've taken the time to like get it out of the collection, photograph it, put it up. And to be honest, they're the ones that I share the most on our Instagram page. I really, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Collect what you like within your means. Don't overstretch. Love the hobby. Love the game. When you sell cards, don't try and tell me that you paid $1,800 for it in 2019. Get with the times. I understand that people don't like losing money, but and the biggest thing I have is I see lots and lots of people write to me. People I've never spoken to before saying, how come a lot of your cards sell in sales and mine don't? Be realistic with what you've got. Be realistic of where the market is at the time. Same with the hobby hangout.
I think if you're a regular seller, though, that helps you because there's some buyer confidence there. I think, people that sort of pop up willy-nilly, if you don't know the name, you don't know who they are, I'm less likely to send that person $50 or $100, I think.
No, I get that, but I also see guys that I've never spoken to privately, but I've seen them post plenty of sales before, and they're like, Jonno, how come at the moment I'm doing these steals of the day? How come your steals of the day, some of them sell in 2 minutes, and I've got a similar card and it's not selling? I'm like, well, yours is up at $1,500 and mine's up at $1,000. They comp it around $1,100. I put mine $100. I understand you may not want to lose. You may have paid $2,000 for that card and you're already selling at a $500 loss. But sometimes it's just easier to cut your losses. And then if you want to reinvest in another card, you're then buying and selling in the same market where you're not going to have that huge differential in price.
Yeah.
When you're buying in the 2019 market and selling the 2024 market, it's a completely different market. So
it is 2024 now, isn't it? That sounds
correct.
Weird when you say that. Yeah.
So sell in the market, sell at prices, and in the end of the day, the easiest transaction you'll ever make is a win-win for everyone. I just made a huge, what's a pretty huge trade in the Australian market with somebody for a LeBron James PSA 10 Topps Chrome, and never made a trade with this guy before. Seen him on the pages, and we literally got a deal done within 20 minutes of talking. And I wrote to him, I'm like, mate, that's like a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
We both priced our cards right. You got what you wanted. Yeah. I got some liquid cards, which I wanted.
Yeah.
And we're both happy. And then we've spoken every day since for the last week.
Awesome.
Just about other stuff. And we had never spoken before that. And so, if you want to trade, you want to sell, like anything in life, it has to be a win-win. We're not here to rip someone off. We're not here to hear these horror stories that sometimes pop up on these pages. Yeah. Be kind to people and have fun.
I think we should probably leave that there, to be honest. This started off as a 15-minute conversation. We've gone out to an hour and 28. No, it's not a problem. So I'm thinking we just make this your own podcast, and then the Maddie and Tabe thing, we can do that as like a part 2 or something like that, because this has been amazing. So thank you so much. I'm flattered that you would give us this much time, and I hope you enjoyed yourself too. And for everyone listening at home,
sorry, no, go ahead. I was only going to say it's a long time coming. I think
I've been nagging you for a while. To be fair, yeah.
We originally spoke on the phone. I'm going to say about 3 years ago. Yeah. For other people, we connected through a mutual friend that works with Russell's wife.
Oh yeah,
that's how you originally got my phone number.
Yeah, right.
And I remember you rang me. I was at the supermarket. I said, I promise you I'll ring you back. It's during COVID. I don't think I ever rang you back. So I do apologize. But
I'd actually completely forgotten about that. You shouldn't have reminded me. I'm still mad at you about that. Yeah.
As I said, you came to my house a couple of months ago, and we showed each other our PCs and some cards, and stuff like what you and Adam do is great for the hobby. As I said, I love listening in, and I wasn't joking when I said to others, listen in, get in the comments section. This hobby isn't just about collecting. It's about talking about collecting, talking about cards, talking about basketball, how basketball affects the prices and the card market. And I'm not just saying this. There's three people that I tune into. You guys are one of them, and thanks for you guys for putting your time in. Everybody thinks it's just easy to jump on the computer for 15 minutes or half an hour and talk stuff. But I know you guys probably do a lot of research and a lot of background of what you guys are going to talk about. So thank you for you guys for putting your time in.
Look, now it's a sort of part of my life. In terms of the preparation, it's just part of an everyday thing. So I don't particularly sit down for, 2 hours a week or 1 hour a week. As I think about things, I just sort of put it into a spreadsheet. I'm not trying to talk it down, but what I'm trying to say is it's just sort of part of what I do every day now. And look, I really enjoy it, and hopefully we'll keep it going as long as we can.
But as I said, thank you for the collectors and the people that
thank you for your
time
kind
you guys
words.
put in.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. All right, guys, I think we'll end this here, and thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week. All right, bye-bye.
See you guys.